Well, I guess we are on and we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our fourth iTalk. As you can see, today we are a lot more than we are used to be in this iTalk scene. Today we are going to talk about navigating digital transformation through traditional business. We have our special guest, Tiago Gaspar Sampaio, with us. And we also have, as always, our beautiful Natalie and our managing director at High Interactive, André Amaral. He is here with us too to join this conversation today. And yeah, before we start, let me just not beg, but ask if you can politely drop us a like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have plenty of content like this prepared for you, and we upload regularly here on our YouTube channel. And yeah, hi Natalie, do you want to say something to the audience today? You are muted. You are muted. You are muted, Natalie.
Okay, now I am here. Yeah, I was saying I do. Yes, I do. I want to share. Well, firstly, thanks, Tiago, to be with us today, to share your experience with us, and Andre as well to be with us today. So I hope both of you enjoy and share a lot with us and learn with you. Uh, what do I want to share? We have new activities that we are preparing for you, for our audience. We are preparing a workshop uh, to help our clients to identify problems and to see how they can monetize their applications, their platforms. And we are creating, to see if it's in your interest, to see if for you to have a little bit of what we are going to do in this workshop. We are going to do a free webinar during the month of April. So we don't have a specific date yet, but we are going to share a link with you.
Yes. The
To,
link.
go ahead,
Sorry,
go ahead.
sorry to interrupt you. The
No,
link is on the description of the video. If you go to the description of our video, it's there
okay.
right now. And I also want to share with you the QR code for it. If you scan this QR code that's under Tiago there, uh, you'll have access to a form where you can register yourself for the webinar, and you will receive the further updates on it. So yeah, that's about it,
During the
Natalie.
next days, we will share more information about that. But if you are curious, you have here firsthand this information.
Yeah.
Um, so starting,
Yeah,
hello everyone. So go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I was just say before you start, if you have any type of question during
Yeah.
this iTalk, you can drop it on the live chat. We will be more than happy to answer all of your questions and doubts that you may have throughout this presentation. At the end, we will have a session where we are going to answer all of your questions.
Yes, at the
And
end we'll have a Q&A. So if you
okay,
have any questions during the talk, you can already
okay.
leave them on the
So
chat.
I will leave you three to your amazing talk. I will get back to you at the end. So see
Yeah,
you
you
in.
will come back, right?
Yeah, I'll come back for sure.
Okay, good. Okay, thank you, João. So, hello everyone. Hello, André. Hello, Tiago. João live here alone, but I think I can handle. Let's see. So, as he said, he already shared the topic for today is how we can navigate through digital transformation in a traditional business. And for many companies with a long and established history, embracing digital transformation can feel like diving into uncharted territory. So, and there is the thing, customers' expectations are evolving rapidly. They expect seamless digital experiences across all touch points, regardless of how traditional a company might be. So to stay competitive, we need to bridge the gap between technology to meet those expectations from the users. the good news is that digital transformation, it's not just about technology, it's about understanding customers and creating a user experience that's intuitive, efficient, and ultimately that deliver values for our customers and users. And that's when we will came with the UX design. So throughout this talk, we will explore how UX design principles can be applied to navigate a successful digital transformation journey for any traditional business. We will try to identify key considerations at the outset, the importance of the user research, how we can foster a user-centric mindset within your organization, ensuring your digital transformation empowers both your business and your customers. But better than me that be here talking about that, we have our guest today, Tiago. So let's dive into the topic and explore all the questions that all the topics that I was talking about. So Tiago, thanks again for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. I don't know if you want to, talk a little bit about your experience. More
Yeah, I
than me to
can.
explain a traditional business, you can start to, in your work industry, consider a traditional business. How do you see and define the need for technology and digital transformations to have success in this market?
Okay. So thank you again, Natalie and Andre, for the invite. Yeah, first, just to say that I've been working with digital topics and digital transformation for some years now. I guess for 6 or 7 years, but I've done something prior in my career that was not directly connected to digital, but I have a background
Okay.
in marketing. So I don't know, everything rounds up around, trying to understand what the customer wants, and specifically in retail and in food retail in particular, because that's what I've been doing for all of my career, actually. For 10 years, I've been working in food retail. And for the great majority of that, I've been working with Jerónimo Martins. And now I'm specifically dedicated to Pingo Doce, which is the main supermarket banner of Jerónimo Martins in Portugal. So I would say to your question that it's important first to maybe define, or at least to have a concept of what is a traditional or not non-traditional business,
Yeah,
because I
that's
think it's very clear that retail is a traditional business, and the reason why is because it's a very old business. So of course we're talking about modern retail and modern
mhm.
food retail in my case in particular, but humanity has been doing retail for ages, since ancient civilizations. So it's something that's we cannot imagine our lives without. And I guess that's why we can call it a traditional retail. It was there before we were born, before our parents were born, before our grandparents were born. And in the
Or
case of,
even
yeah,
we have even we before even we started using money as we know today, it's the the
exactly,
way to
the
exchange
exchange.
things. So
Yes, exactly. Before exchanging money, we were exchanging goods, and that's
yeah.
ultimately where retail started. Then, of course, over the ages, marketing came on, and you didn't just rely on the product; you needed to market it and make it different. And that's still the challenge nowadays for a traditional business. But I like another perspective of saying we're a traditional business, because it's a business that's lasting. Okay,
Mhm.
we see businesses that they arise and then they disappear, but this is a type of business, like many others, that's still here, and no matter how disrupted they'll be in the future, they're still going to be around for ages, I guess. Yeah, and to the topic of digital transformation, I would say that nowadays, with modern retail and modern food retail in particular, what's changing, and in markets like ours, like Portugal or EU markets or Western markets, is that economic growth is not like it used to be. So
Mhm.
traditionally, these markets relied a lot on growing volumes and growing with the economy. But we know that we're in an age where large economic growth is not, what we're experiencing right now. So things grow a little bit slower. So the focus is not as much on working for the masses, let's say, or working for high economic growth, but rather looking for knowing each customer better.
Mhm.
So not all customers, but each customer. And the other thing that's a change of focus is operational efficiency, because that's where we find gains in, profitability moving forward. Yeah.
Okay. Andre, do you have something to share or add?
Yeah, definitely digital transformation, especially on the traditional business, are very important. I really enjoyed the Tiago's opinion because adding also one very important thing, it's the demand sophistication after the lockdown uh,
Yeah.
increase a lot of pressure to traditional business to get more innovation, to bring more value in the equation. So it's definitely the digital transformation that is helping the traditional business to stay ahead like they have been in the past, and facing the new competitors that sometimes are more agile and are having other type of weapons that the traditional business is not so easy to reach. So digital transformation is being and we seeing in past experience customers that it's the key master to keep the competitive in the market.
Okay. Thanks, Andre. I guess you are opening the path for the next question. That is, well, from a user experience perspective, how do you, Tiago, do you see the role of digital transformation in the interaction between customers and business needs? How we can help to fill the gap between the two of them and, well, these new realities that we have nowadays.
Yeah, I think Andre spoke of a word that's meaningful in our case, and I would say that in most businesses, which is agility.
Mhm.
Things are moving much faster, and digital transformation, it's supposed to contribute towards that agility. That's many people, and if you just look for the profile of a business from a customer perspective, you associate digital with having digital stuff to, touch and interact with. But it goes much further than that, because it enters our operations. It helps us solve macroeconomic challenges. For instance, the labor profile changed a lot over the past few decades. I think in Portugal that change was much more accelerated than in most Western economies, because we transitioned from a workforce that wasn't so qualified a few decades ago to a very highly qualified workforce. And of course, we know that working in physical jobs in traditional business is not as interesting for a big part of the population as it used to be. So digital is not just about, bringing digital forward for the customers, but making digital work for efficiency, productivity, engagement in the workforce. So all of these concepts come around agility and speed. And the other thing that's important, also, of course, connected to speed and agility, is creating differentiated experiences.
Yeah.
When you have markets that are getting saturated, meaning that, and that's a good thing, there's more competition, that there tends to be more competition because we live in a global market. The growth is not there in most Western economies, so we need to split, the pie with more competitors. And developing differentiated experiences is very critical, so that customers don't associate, in this case, supermarkets, but we could be talking about banks or hospitals or any business that might be considered traditional. We need to be perceived as having something different that the customer appreciates about visiting us and using our services that other competitors don't have. So I would say it's something around these two axes: the speed and agility and the differentiation, that user experience might contribute to this
Create,
digital transformation, and yes,
right?
and creating new opportunities, new business opportunities. Yeah.
Yes, and other thing that I was remember when you were talking is we as user or we as customers, we spend most of our time in other applications and or having other experiences with other services or companies. And when we went to a supermarket or and we need to interact with something physical or digital, we are going to expect the same experience or the same patterns or the same. And this is where UX designer or taking consideration the UX, the user experience is so important to stay ahead in this part of the digital transformation in our business. And this is where we can fill the gap and create a bridge between the customer's needs and the business goals in this digital world that we have now.
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
Let me just comment something that Natalie was saying, and maybe giving a specific example of how people don't just compare us with our direct competitors and our specific
Yes.
business, but they bring expectations from other experiences from other verticals. We started developing a digital product last year, which is self-service kiosks. We're shifting a big part of our business towards restaurants and meal solutions. It's a trend that we've been pioneering for some years. So we launched these self-service kiosks like you see at McDonald's. And McDonald's is the reference for self-service kiosks, despite the fact that many food operators and restaurants have them for some years now. The thing is, we're not, or our restaurants are not fast food restaurants. They're just restaurants with traditional food. But by using kiosks, people automatically expect the same level of competency from a kiosk that they find at a McDonald's. The fact is that at McDonald's, they're supposed to serve you very fast because all of the business is, built around serving the customer fast. In our business, it's a little bit different. We developed the kiosks because we found out that people could be relaxing while expecting their meal, but they know that if they order a burger, for instance, we have burgers as well, they will have a burger that's gets made from the point that the order
It's going
gets
to
to
be a
the
real
kitchen.
burger.
Exactly. It's not, well, not to say anything about McDonald's burgers, but our burgers are not already made. They start getting made once the order arrives the kitchen. But the time perception and the experience that you have at the kiosk and after using the kiosk, the only or the major reference that people have is from fast food restaurants. Or even when you use our customer app, you might be expecting experience such as the ones you find at Uber or any
Yeah.
other app that you're used to using. So I think that's a very interesting perspective on user experience, that we're not just looking into our own business and the expectations that people have around our specific business. It's what people are used generally and broadly in terms of user experience in the state-of-the-art apps.
Yeah, definitely. And one very curious thing is that the user experience now, and to be able to do that, we are seeing companies to use the same methodology in internal apps. All the processes are being complemented, and all this revolution is also with the with the old process and internal process to upfront have the same approach at the fast food. It's a very good example. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think, well, Tiago was ahead of me. I have a question about the examples that you could share on leveraging your company and industry that with those new digital tools you were able to enhance the customer experience. You have other examples,
Yeah.
even when what about Andrea was saying about the internal
hmm
applications that you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I was. Yes, of course. No, no, no worries. Yeah, I already shared this one that's very much connected to the customer, and I could be talking about self-checkouts, for instance. We have approximately or almost half of our stores right now with self-checkouts. We have self-service labelers inside the store. So everything that's connected to solving a major point reported by retail customers over the
Mhm.
years, which is waiting times inside the store and at checkout. We have been developing these digital products and scaling them up in this specific axis of speed and agility in shopping experience. But for this to happen, there are two other layers that are more internal that need to be put in place. One is when you develop these solutions for customers, you also need to develop solutions for the stores to be
Yeah,
able to support those new experiences. So let's say if you have a
like
self
in consideration the whole journey, right?
Yes, yes, and the capacity needs to be built into the operation as well. It's not just a cosmetic thing that you put on the store. It's something that needs to be supported by operational processes. So let's say using the example of a self checkout, you need to have a piece of technology that helps a storefront employee to help the customer solve
Yeah.
problems, audit whatever he or she needs to do. And this is the internal part that's still connected to the customer experience, because the third pillar is what the customer doesn't even see. And there's a lot happening behind the supermarket operation. We've actually developed in the past few years a big application that we call Kiwi. It's public because we already showcased something publicly about it, so it's no problem talking about it. It's an application that runs on a tablet that we put inside our perishables or fresh sections inside the stores. So we have lots of service inside our stores, and this piece of technology, that's an application running on a tablet in every single store section. Basically, what it did at first, and that was the first priority, is it digitized processes that were done manually or on paper
Yeah.
before. So you have this transferring of manual processes into digital processes, not just because it saves paper and other resources, but because it also saves time and it also adds rigor to the processes. And on top of that, and because I believe we did that well, we engaged the whole organization to think about other processes or new processes that could run on top of this application. So this is the spear that we have inside every store section that we use to build, in some cases from scratch. For instance, production plans with AI forecasting behind it, or we build redundancy with other processes inside the store to decentralize decision making from the store management to the store sections and to build agility in the operation. So this is an example of something that the customer doesn't see, but it's very important to make sure that not only the processes are done fast and with rigor, because that's important. We work with food, so rigor is very important because of food safety, of course. But also, it allows for the store staff to be more available to do tasks that the customer actually appreciates, and they're the reason why they visit us, like
Yes,
talking to the
that's
customer.
what I was going to comment ahead, that with this app, your workers, they have more time to dedicate on their main tasks. They don't have to mentally memorize a lot of tasks that they need to do, because they are on your Kiwi application and they can follow that application, and they could be free to be more concentrate in other tasks, like the final customer, and that is just very beneficial for your business and for your customers as well.
Yeah.
Have a very big impact. So do you want to add something, Andre, or
No. Listen,
no?
and you.
Yeah, I was leaving time for Andrea, but maybe I can take a little bit of Andrea's time and add
Okay, go
something
ahead.
here. Yeah, because I could always give you examples of things that we are already doing, or that are shaping our business. But there's actually things happening outside our company that are trends and that some of our competitors are already tackling. That could be examples of digital transformation. It's not always about software and developing software and so on. And a good example I could give you in food retail is electronic shelf labels. So it's a very old technology, actually. It's been around for many years. Actually, the technology itself changed over the years, so it's
Okay.
it's more robust and sophisticated. Uh, and for many years, it wasn't something that we wanted to look into because it didn't make business sense. Actually, it's fine. It's a good technology, but it didn't make business sense. And we're actually in this process of building digital transformation for the company. We need to be constantly assessing if these technologies that weren't feasible a few years ago, when are they going to get feasible? But because we know that we'll get to the point where we need to make that transition. And this is an example of something that digital transformation teams do also, that doesn't necessarily translate into a business plan every single year, which is to assess trends and assess technologies and make a constant decision on them. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good point. Thanks for sharing that, Tiago. And well, jumping into the next topic, that is about planning and implementation. When a traditional business decides to undergo a digital transformation, in your point of view and in your experience, what are some of the key considerations that they should address at the outset, in your opinion?
Okay. I think I'm in a good position to answer the question for the following reason. Not just because I work in digital transformation, but because we've had some organic changes inside the organization in the past few years, precisely to respond to the need of speeding up digital transformation. So um, we work at a group of retail companies, not just food retail, but mostly. But they're very, in their way, independent companies with independent realities. But with digital transformation, you need that independence to translate into processes that don't block every single business unit or company inside the larger organization. So 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, actually, we started a digital and innovation department at Pingo Doce, which is this business unit that we have in Portugal. And so I would say that's the first step, is to build specific capabilities or
Have a
capacity.
team,
Exactly. Even if it's just one person. Exactly. At the beginning, it was just my boss, which is the executive director of this area, and myself. So we started 2 people, and we're around 30 people right now, 2 years later. And this happened because we've created this dedicated team and department, But then we followed, and I'll try to describe what's important in building this digital transformation or digital innovation team. First, it's important to know why you're doing that. Okay, it's building digital transformation for the sake of having good technology and saying that we have a great digital product. It won't work. You need to be solving actual problems or developing actual competitive
Before
advantages.
diving into the technology, right?
Yes, the reason why is super important. Andre, did you
Yeah,
want to?
definitely, I agree with you, Tiago.
Yeah.
And we are seeing that with other customers. Those that don't know, for them it's just throwing away money. So
Yeah.
it's the first step. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that in our particular business, of course, it's also around the company profile that we have, but in food retail in particular, you don't have all the flexibility in the world to throw money out the window because we're a business of high volumes and low margins. So you need to choose your investments very carefully because your operating costs in the food retail business are super high. So we need to be pragmatic. Some other business might not have that strive for pragmatism, but I would say that's important in every business. So the reason why, the vision, the objectives, and also the KPIs, like how are you going to measure what you define as your vision? This is all key when you're starting this digital transformation practice in a traditional company. Then you need governance, you need structure, you need methods, and you won't. And this, I want to make this point: you won't build all of that overnight. Okay, governance is important.
It's a process.
Yeah, at least because if we're talking about big businesses, you need to know what's the responsibility of every specific team, so that you're not all doing the same thing or no one doing what needs to be done. So governance, even at the high level, is important, and then you build structure, processes, methods around that governance with other teams. um, because both digital transformation and also innovation, which is something that captures a big part of my time, and these are two slightly different things, they require process and discipline. No matter if you're a people-oriented company
Another talk,
or
and
not.
Tiago to add that topic as well.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting topic to explore. Yeah, and then of course, on top of all of these, there are evident truths that you need to take into consideration. Like, of course, in every area, not just the digital transformation area, you need to have the right leadership. So you need someone that connects the dots, understands the strategy, understands the business very well. In traditional businesses, this is more critical than in modern businesses or non-traditional businesses.
Yeah.
Understanding the core and the reason why we've been doing the same thing for so many years is the key to unlock digital transformation. So I think this is an advice that's specific for traditional businesses. And then because it's a digital transformation thing, the right infrastructure is also important. The right synergies with your IT department are very important. The when you're starting this process, cleaning up the house and understanding and putting your legacy systems all in place is very important as well. Hiring the right talent, developing them, engaging them, because this is a very, and because this is your business as well, it's very hard to engage and to keep good people and great people interested in these topics, because the world is theirs, is ours. The world is very interesting, and we might lose focus and drive very easily. So all of these factors, there's not just one factor,
Mhm.
but all of these factors are very important. I would just add one final one, which I think is key, or at least it's key to me, which is to look outward, and to look into what others are doing, because you know because we've been pioneers in the past, or because we've been market leaders since forever, that doesn't mean that others don't do stuff better than we do and that we cannot learn from their experience. So that humbleness in digital transformation is also important as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good final point. Andre, do you want to add something in this?
Yes, I think on every topics that Tiago mentioned, I will choose just one because it's probably the one that we have been helping our customers. It's the knowing what they want from the digital transformation. I think I will choose that one because digital transformation is not a trend; it's here to stay. And like Tiago said, companies are having a lot of legacy systems and legacy process too. And one of the things that typically we are helping our customers, and we are seeing that we are having some good examples, is by helping them to understand where they want to reach, and then with baby steps. Sometimes it's better than just go ahead and with digital transformation with all the organization,
Yeah.
because it's very hard, and in the end of the day, it's not going to happen. So it's like having small steps, sometimes starting, for example, with a tiny application. Then we can start by having other stakeholders involving other areas, searching for common results, addressing new process, and then we are in a digital transformation. So, but the first step is always this. It's very important to understand where we want to reach out. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the probably the main topic that I think in the digital transformation companies, from what we have noticed, and we have been working with logistic, with traveling, with energy, with a lot of companies, traditional ones, and they all started by these baby steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just to add a little thing from all of your points, well, when we understand the why we should do this
Yeah.
transformation, have this clarity guide for what we are doing to reach the success. One thing that really would help us is knowing our customer.
Yeah.
Understand our customer base, identify pain points, what he's doing now in the current flow that exists in the moment, that is helping him, and what is not helping, and what is missing before we start to address all that needs in these new activities that we are going to start in this digital transformation. And well, that leads us to another question, that is how can UX design principles be applied throughout the digital transformation process in your experience, Tiago, in all of those projects that you have been describing?
I think you already started giving the answer to this question, but I'll echo a little bit of
Oh,
what you said.
sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine because it means that we have the same understanding of this issue. Yeah, so the research part is very important. And I want to make a point here because we cannot always be performing research every time we need to,
In all,
accelerate.
yeah.
Yes, of course. Some degree of research, whether formal or informal, is always advised because that's where you'll find the needs, the specific needs, or at least list the specific needs that you're
Yeah.
trying to cover. That's where you take the time to benchmark. And I was mentioning benchmark, and I think this is an activity that typically happens in this research phase in this type of UX projects, where you find behaviors and preferences. And of course, you can do it in very different ways depending on the digital product that you're trying to develop. But that's the part that informs on the strategy. So that's what's going to tell you where to focus and how to do it, uh, because resources are ultimately limited.
Mhm.
um, and we can imagine the perfect product, but there's no way any company can deliver the perfect product in the perfect timing. That doesn't exist. It's about choices. And research is good for that clarification. So yeah, I would start with that, and then integrating design teams with functional teams. So and this is a good advice that I could give to people working in traditional businesses, especially if you don't have internal UX UI capabilities. It's very important that you really work alongside these UX UI teams when they're external. Okay, don't just outsource the problem to an external UX designer or a UX design team, because you're the one that understands your customer, and there's no way that an external team will grasp all of the challenges on their own. So this integration during research and the whole process is very important. And of course, if that evolves into implementing front end or whatever, or even back end, as a sort of a degree of integration with technical teams, with development or applicational teams, is also critical. Maybe not necessarily from the beginning, but somewhere along the project or the process, you should try to get this integration between the design, the functional, and the technical parts to maximize, the result.
Yes, and I just want to add that most people, or the majority of people that we usually talk, when we talk about research or user experience, most people will think that, well, this is going to take a lot of time. We don't have time for that. But as you were saying at the beginning, at least there are a lot of activities that we can do.
More light activities, right?
Yes, informal activities that would help us enormously to validate or to guarantee that we are creating something for success. So don't just jump that phase, because, well, just try to, even if it's just a user test, or if just an observation or an interview with you have a rough prototype, and you are going to validate with a few people, at least something like that will always give very insightful information to improve before the development, for example.
Yeah.
So, Andrea, I don't know if you want to add something.
What I was saying was we are suspicious to talk about the user experience and the design principles, but I
am being very partial.
But I think the methodology that is behind, I think it's applicable to whatever area you are, because I think doing the research, I think the first step that we do, that usually sometimes we see customers not considering, is what is the real or the first problem that we want to solve. And I think by having a methodology that helps to identify clearly what we want to solve, and all the research, identifying personas and all the journey and so on, I think it's sometimes how we can help, even especially from traditional customers. And we have a very good example on a situation like that. Sometimes it's very hard to, with different stakeholders, help them to identify, okay, so will be our first step to solve this problem. And after the first step, when it's completed, then we go to the second one, and then to the third one, and then to the fourth. I think by having this approach, even if we can call UX or UI or even other names that we have, and we have the principles of design thinking behind, and we use that also in other areas, for example, like human resources, it's very important, because we can help, and we are helping our customers to do this shift on the way of thinking and in introducing new methodologies that bring success when solving this type of issues and challenges that the companies are facing on the digital transformation.
Yeah, not just in a digital approach, but in a strategy approach as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Even in our example, and we were the first one to use in ourselves, For example, when we tried to, and we have built that in 2 years ago, the reason why we are having this approach, we use this methodology and we have different visions. Some of them were from development, other ones from design, other from marketing, other from sales. And in the end of the day, we see that we all are connected with the same concept. And it was very interesting to step by step get different informations, get different data. And now with AI and with tons of data that we can have, it's very important to understand what is the issue that we want to solve.
Yeah.
Agree.
Before we move to our Q&A, I have just one more question for you, Tiago and Andrea, of course. What do you think would be some of the biggest challenges of traditional business face when implementing digital tools, and how we can overcome them?
Yeah, yeah. We could be doing a single talk about that topic.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, these obstacles or challenges can come from different sides. It depends on the business and depends on the specific culture. But legacy systems typically are a challenge because and you as High Interactive, these, when you try to accelerate the power of digital through low code, but then you need to deal with these older tech and big huge technologies that you're not so flexible in working their integrations. That's typically something that complicates things, and that integration between very agile and fast technologies with other ones that are more legacy. And these choices between closed solutions and open solutions. Like closed solutions it's what I describe as being buying something that's already made and using that directly into your business. That's faster to integrate, but then you lose the flexibility. And the open solution is quite the opposite. You take longer to implement it, but maybe you do it in a more customized manner. This is also a challenge that we face when making decisions about these digital projects, is what's the degree of closed and open parts of the products that need to be integrating with the limitations that we have. And then I could be listing many challenges and obstacles here, but I would say that the change management part and the people part is also a big challenge implementing digital tools, especially because I believe that in traditional businesses, people tend to believe what they see. And if you're selling something that they cannot touch or they cannot see, it's hard to of course you build faith on you and your team along the way, as long as you keep delivering, of course. But when you're trying to push for the first time for this big digital transformation moment,
It's a leap of trust.
yes, it's a leap of faith and trust. And that connects to something that Andrea was saying, is that sometimes it helps to break things into smaller pieces that are more digestible. I would say that among many challenges that I could be listing, these three, I guess they're the ones.
Yeah, I think I agree with Tiago. I would just refer one that it's very common and we are facing. That's the skills to face the digital transformation. That's what our customers, and for our experience, we are seeing in the market is we are seeing great ideas. We are seeing, enormous legacy problems, but then the capacity and doing upskills, and now with the new technologies, new platforms, new ways of doing things, it's how companies are facing and how they are preparing their teams and how can they work and doing some partnerships with companies to help to be on the top of the digital transformation. So I will just to keep along with Tiago's idea, because I agree with all of them. Well, it's the skills that we need to have to keep on business. I think it's the best way to say that.
Okay, so thanks for all of these questions and these answers and sharing all of your experience, both of you, Tiago and André. I think we can have João back with us. João,
Hi, I'm here as I promised. I'm back, and I'm back with some cool questions. They are specifically targeted to Tiago, although you, Natalie, and Andre can also share your point of view on these questions. The first question I want to ask, and before I ask it, everyone that is watching this right now, if you have any question, this is a time to ask them. You can drop them on the live chat on your right side if you are on desktop, or down down your screen if you are on mobile. Whenever you have your live chat, you can drop your questions now, and we will have all of them answered right now. And yeah, let's start with the first.
We'll try.
We will help you, Tiago. Don't worry.
At least we'll do our best. That's
Let's do
that's
it.
our take on this. So yeah, Tiago, we've talked a lot about this, but how can we measure realistically the impact and the success of UX design during a digital transformation of a company?
Yeah, that question. There are traditional ways in which you can do it, but I would maybe split the answer in two parts. The first is success with your customers, even if they're internal customers like employees, and the other part is like the internal organization acceptance of a new digital solution and process. So as for the first part, of course, measuring customer satisfaction in its many forms, it's a way of doing this. How satisfied were them with the solution that you had before you started the transformation, and how satisfied are them when you make these projects or leaps in quality or implementation of new digital tools. This is a basic marketing way of doing that. Of course, delivering a good quality design is also important, and I'm not an expert specifically in design, but using the state-of-the-art tools and state-of-the-art rules for building design is halfway into having people satisfied with what you're doing. But then asking the customer and measuring the before and after, I would say that's very important. For the internal part, it's I would say we won't, of course, perform satisfaction surveys with our peers and stakeholders inside the company, but I think that's measured with the confidence level, and this is not very specific, but with the confidence level that you build with other teams, and when you start seeing that the organization is turning more and more to you when having these ideas for digital. I think that's the ultimate KPI for internal or the internal part of organizations, is the amount of ideas and involvement of other teams, non-digital teams, into the transformation. And if you want an objective way of measuring it, you can look into, for instance, a backlog of a product. If you start the year with 50 issues open, and then you end the year with 150, you started with 3 sources and now you have 30 people contributing to the backlog. That's ultimately because you developed an interest and enthusiasm inside the organization to undergo this digital transformation. I hope that I was not too broad or generic.
No, I just want to add, and I think this is because I think this is very applicable on your scenario as well, Tiago, and correct me if I am wrong. This is there is the customer support ticket. If we can monitor the volume and nature of a customer support ticket after implementing UX improvements and
Yeah.
see a decrease in the support ticket related to usability issues, and well, that will suggest a positive impact on UX. Could be
That's a good
something
point.
that would be really helpful as well as all of the other points that Tiago already said, of course.
Yeah, and I think that covers it for this question. Thank you,
For now.
Tiago and Natalie.
If it doesn't, just the audience can reach me on LinkedIn, and I will try afterwards to cover all your questions.
They can reach you right now if they have something to say.
Go ahead.
No worries about that. So yeah, I think we can jump to the next question that I have here for you, Tiago, and that it's also one thing that I got from the things that you said during this iTalk, that like you are used to work, I would not say with close margins, but in a cost-effective way,
Mhm.
I may say. And I wanted to ask you that, like, how can a company with a limited budget or that wants to work in an optimized budget or so, how can they get started with UX in this cost-effective way?
Okay, so again, the answer might have different layers, but I would say that UX, or the basic UX or UI design, of course, if done well, it has a methodology, and it has you need to do it right. But if you don't have all of the budget in the world to do it, um, first, there's a lot of resources online for people to get inspired, and there's a lot of internal activities that you can do to validate your ideas and even perform some research without the need of resourcing immediately to experts. But then I would say that choosing partners with strong methodologies and, of course, proven results, doing similar processes, that's typically how we decide how to choose our partners, because we don't, again, have that internal capability installed. And it's not, choosing the cheapest, fastest way of doing that, but the ones that have more relevant experience prior to working with you, that inspires trust in the methodology, and going through these. And then the other layer that I would just add is that digital transformation is not a process that's different from managing any other department in a company. So every department and every company, no matter how big or small they are, they live with constraints and limited resources, because everyone wants more people, more money, more time to do everything. So it's ultimately an exercise of prioritizing,
Yeah.
and let's see what's the digital bit that I can work on that has the highest impact, and maybe that will bring things along afterwards. And then being able to estimate the effort, and that's a tricky one even for us nowadays, estimating the effort of things and the level of risk of different aspects of your digital transformation. I think it's also a good way of thinking about problems, or you design problems with limited resources.
I don't know if
We strongly recommend that when you are doing this analyzation of the priorities, use the return on investment approach. That's something that we are using with our customers, and well, now we are helping them to understand how they can do it, and well, now using a little bit of this time, but and we are also doing workshops on that. But that's a very good way to understand, because, like you said, Thiago, it's definitely we don't have the resources unlimited, so we need to, well, prioritizing is a way of choosing what to do.
Yeah, I think you're making a good point with ROI, because that's also a challenge even for companies that are very, performance driven.
Yeah.
Not every digital project is easy to, measure and build a business case around. So if you're talking about, digitizing some process or automatizing some process, that might be a little bit easier, especially if there are not too many variables involved. if you feel, and we feel that all the time, that you have too many variables and you're not completely sure about the business case that you're doing, at least do some high level estimation. That's why I
Yeah.
was touching upon the estimation bit. It's important. You won't be completely sure about the how feasible the business case is, but you need to have an idea of risk, effort, resources involved, etc. Yeah, and return on investment, of course.
Okay. So I guess that's it for this question, and we'll jump on to the last one, as we are more than 1 hour on our high talk, and it's getting dark, and and it's almost dinner time. Uh, let's get to the last question, and this is about how to be more inclusive. And let me explain this. We have a large customer base that it's substantially older, and
Mhm.
they are not quite familiar with new technologies and how to use them. And I want to ask you this, Tiago, and is how can we ensure that our digital experience is inclusive for everyone?
I'm actually very happy with the question, and we didn't arrange it beforehand, because this is, I would say, something that we integrate in our digital vision for the
Okay.
products that we manage. That I think, it stays with us all the time. We work, as I've said in the beginning, for the majority of the population, so anyone can go to the supermarket, and every single type of person, no matter what characteristic distinguishes them, goes to the supermarket. And because we are very relevant in our market, it's safe to assume that every Portuguese person goes to Pingo Doce at least once a year, if not more. So that's an important bit of what we do, and that inclusiveness, it translates into different aspects. Of course, if you use design rules, the best or the state of the art design rules already cover some things related to accessibility, like the design accessibility bit. But I would talk about the other part, which is um, developing products that don't scare customers away, but that don't already assume that there's a customer base that's excluded already from using them. And the age part, and I think you mentioned the older population. The age part is something that's very surprising. For instance, with self checkouts, that's an example that I was giving earlier. Some of our most enthusiastic customers are older customers that even don't even know how
Oh,
to
wow.
interact
Pretty
properly
good.
with a smartphone, but they find it very easy to use a self checkout. And that's something, that inclusiveness in making interfaces very easy and
Yeah.
not scary. I think it's something that distinguishes my specific team and our company in particular from the rest of the companies in the market. From what I see, is that we build digital interfaces, but not with the focus on them being digital, but rather human experiences that translate into digital interfaces. And that's also true for internal applications. We talked about Kiwi, and
Yeah.
Natalie knows this application well. Um, it's something that could be the scariest thing in the world. You start working at the supermarket and you already have to know what type of traceability records, hygiene records, and so on you need to do and how to do it. But the thing is built in such an intuitive way, like a step-by-step way, um, a, a, a good design base, that we find that our employees are very excited about using this application. It's not something that they feel it's mandatory or something that's hard to use, but something that's a digital assistant, something that's their partner in handling
The
the.
help for them, right? Not an
Yes,
enemy that is going to take our jobs away.
I take it very seriously that technology shouldn't look like an oppressive thing. And I think we build our applications around that idea that things should be as simple as they can be, and that's where we strive at the end, is to have simplicity. And simplicity means in many ways inclusiveness as well.
Yes. I just want to add to the Tiago answer that, well, taking off the point, all of the points that he shared, and this was one of the things that we did with them, working at Kiwi. That was the doing user test with diverse participants,
Yeah.
people from different backgrounds, to help identify any usability issues that might encounter to the age or limited technical experience. In this case, it's really important. Other thing that it's applicable to your context as well is, and I believe that is something that already happens in Pingo as well. There is having multiple touch points, offer alternative ways for users to interact with your system. If your primary focus is a mobile app, consider offering a simplified web interface as well. So these
That's
are
another, Natalie, I'm sorry to
no,
interrupt,
go
because
ahead, go
that's
ahead.
another great example, because we operate 2 autonomous stores. We call it autonomous stores. They're inside
Yeah,
universities.
I was thinking of
With Yeah, you were thinking about that, and that's a great example of redundancy, because when you build a store that can be used by the customer without resorting to a human, that perspective, before you do it for the first time, before you visit an autonomous store for the first time, might look very oppressing. And from the beginning,
very
since we
scary.
opened, yes, since we opened the first autonomous store, what we did was, okay, you're not comfortable, for instance, with digital payments. This was back in 2019. No worries, you can still use your card that you know. You can go to a payment tower and pay at the terminal that you recognize from any other store. You don't need to add your credit card to the app and to pay. If you're even scared of, or have some something against using the smartphone to enter and exit the store, we lend you a smartphone so that you can do it. Don't need to create an account. Just experience a store with us for the first time, and then when you're more comfortable with using your own means to do it, just do it. That's a good point, Natalie. That's something that we strive very much towards, is to build redundancy and alternatives to technology or through technology. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's the best way to conclude this iTalk.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah, that's it for the questions, and that's it for this iTalk. Thanks, Tiago, for joining us. I think
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much
for
again.
your time.
Great
your
talk.
inputs were
Thank you.
really, really, really insightful for us, and also, I guess, for the ones at home too. And let me talk to the ones at home now. If you have any questions watching this on demand, because this will be available for everyone to watch, you can drop your questions on the comment section, and me, Natalie, Andrea, or even Tiago, we can answer whenever we see the question. And yeah, stay tuned for more high talks to come. Stay tuned for more content like this. We have next week our new masterclass, our masterclass number 33 on Thursday. We have Pedro Oliveira joining us, and stay tuned for that too. And yeah, take care. See you. Bye bye, everyone. Thanks, Andre. Thanks, Natalie, too.
Bye bye.
See ya. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks, Well. Thanks,
Bye
Tiago.
bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thank you.